2414 is a podcast about finding hope and common ground through casual conversation. Like the friends on the road in the New Testament, in Luke chapter 24, verse 14, we want to walk away with more understanding that leads to more conversation as the journey continues. Thanks for walking with us.
Well, hello. That's it. That's the beginning. Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning, Heather. So, welcome. Thank you for being here.
I love that I get to be here.
And we are joined also today by my wife, Lauren. Hello.
Hi.
So, you say your full name all the time. How do you say your full name, Heather?
My full name is Heather Choate Davis because Choate was my maiden name. I usually just go by Heather Davis for walking around the, day to day.
Yeah.
But I don't use it when I'm doing anything professionally because they're like 15 authors who are Heather Davis. And there's even so I have to do the whole thing.
I did find that because I think I searched just Heather Davis on Google, and yeah, there was a lot of names.
Yeah, so that's why I do it.
Okay. Well, thank you for being here. Thank you, listeners, for joining in. This is 2414, a podcast about finding hope and common ground through casual conversation. Yada, yada, yada. But you flew in from L.A. on Monday, was it?
Yes, on Monday.
And
what a week.
What a week it has been. And we're excited to share with you upcoming news for music. And I'm terrible at promotion, so I'm just kind of, I think I'll leave that to you, Heather,
sounds fair.
for talking about all of that. But as we begin each episode, we do so with highs and lows of the week, just because really in conversations in life with others and loved ones and blah, 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 highs and lows are just always a great way to kind of open conversation, to talk about things a little deeper instead of saying like, how are you? Because people always have our default answers of, good, fine, So highs and lows. I'll get things started, and we can kind of go counterclockwise around this table for us for that. So highs and lows for me. Lows, I think, would just be that I'm tired, but I think there'll be more context to that as we open up more conversation. Busy week, recording musically, but filming. But the high of that is that it's just been very just incredible work we've been doing, recording, filming, and everything. It has just been so incredible. I imagine that'll kind of be everybody's highs and lows at this table. So I might expand upon it a little. Another high was we went to Buffalo Wild Wings last night. And
so good.
And it was just an immaculate meal. Like it really just was like it satiated me in a way that was just so satisfying.
You were so happy. I love seeing that.
Yeah, I was in my happy place, and it just was great. So, yeah, that's kind of just a very quick summary of my highs and lows. Lauren, how about you? Highs and lows?
Well, I would love to say that the whole week has been a high. It's really hard to pick a moment that was the highest moment of this week, just because it's been so fun. It's been filled with great conversations, great learning experiences and opportunities, and just being able to be, I don't want to say third wheeling on this journey for you guys, but
you're in. You're in.
You are in it.
It's been so fun to be able to watch this project come to life in the way that it did this week, and all of the people that God put in, Heather, your life to create this. And it's just been wonderful making all of those connections. And then we will definitely talk more about the recording process and the filming process, what we're even recording and filming. So I don't want to give any of that away yet, just because that is, I'm excited to ask so many questions to you guys too, just from like somebody who hasn't been part of this project from the beginning, and just like all of that stuff. So, but that's high. Just being able to experience this whole week has been so amazing. And if I had to choose a low, it's really hard to choose a low, but I would say Seattle. We went to Seattle yesterday, and I think just the parking situation
100%
was
100%.
not fun. So that would be my low.
You took my low.
We've had so many car problems this week, though. So.
I feel like your lows will be expanded upon.
Okay, I'm going to build on that. I'm going to start with the lows,
Yes.
and I'm going to say the only thing wrong with this week, and it was all lows, was related to cars, starting with having a 3.5 hour wait to get a rental car when I arrived in Seattle. And I mean, seriously, I was like, what is going on with this trip? This is not how we're supposed to be starting.
Yeah.
And then everything related to parking in Seattle, finding a spot, only being able to get 2 hours at a time, having to leave the set to move your car, and then paying for it. And it's so funny because I don't mind paying artists to do their work. I love doing that. I don't like paying for parking. I was really annoyed with that. We were all annoyed. And then Heather, do not bring yourself down off the mountain over something so silly, but really. And then trying to leave to have our celebration dinner, and it was like gridlock traffic. It was so bad. And then I get a text, I am stuck. I am still like, I don't know, 40 minutes away. And Shane and Lauren say, we're at your Airbnb. And I'm like, what, did you fly there? What kind of route did you get? And then I just wanted to cry. But then we got to go to Buffalo Wild Wings, which was a joy for me. I don't know if it was the high point of the week for me, but it was definitely. But seeing how happy you were, that was a high point. If I had to say a high point, I'm literally going to say seeing the beautiful members from St. Luke's Choir show up at the studio, knowing that they had spent a week rehearsing the part for this song in Latin, taking away from their own choral time to learn this, to serve this song well. It was such a reminder to me about being in the body of Christ, and that people are going to show up for you because they feel what you're trying to do. And then to see them come in the studio in all ages and ranges and put those headphones on and have that experience and sing, and then to listen to it and go, oh my gosh, this sounds like 100 pros, and you're going to hear it in the final track going, how did Shane get this out of these people? And it's just magnificent. So that was a high for me. That was really a high for me. Okay, see, where are my tissues? Okay.
Should have brought those. Oh man. That was incredible. We're gonna talk a lot about that today. But for starters, I think a lot of people listening have no idea who you are, and so, man, I think we could have a 6-part series, each 3 hours long, talking about your life story. So we're gonna do the worst thing ever for you and say, give kind of like, not a quick summary. I think but I don't know, just start talking about how would you describe who you are, and also kind of your faith journey as well. I know, again, that's not
100%. I'll tell you what, I'm going to try and get this tight, and then you just tell me if I've gone too long.
Oh,
okay.
We'll.
I am from LA. I entered married life as what I would call a hip urban agnostic. So I had been baptized as a child, but it was just, checking a box. And then when I was pregnant with my second child and delivered her, and she was 7.5 months old. She was diagnosed with a brain tumor, and it was during that time when I didn't know if she would live or die that Christ called me to himself in a just kind of profound way, and so that there was no longer anything other than that. And all the gifts I had and all the strengths I had and all the weaknesses, everything just moved forward, but it was transformed in that process, and I didn't any longer have a desire to serve anything else but him and his story and his people. And I had been very successful and driven. I had been very successful early on in advertising, and then I was writing screenplays. I was in the Writers Guild. I was, go. And I just walked away from all of that and found joy in giving my life to our little Lutheran school where my kids were and the church there, and helping to bring what I knew about creativity and communication to help the church communicate who they were to a world that isn't interested and wasn't raised in it. You need different language. And I was helping people see that in lots of different ways, and especially using the arts. And then after about 10 years, I went and got my master's at Concordia Irvine. Woo! All right. Yeah. We're all alum. Yeah. And then I really had a lot more tools in my toolbox. And so then I started writing theology communications books, starting with Loaded Words, and then Sola. And my thesis work was on Man Turned In on Himself, which is Luther's understanding of sin. And I unpacked it for a modern world. And that's how I kind of gained credibility with serious theologians and scholars and men. and I started being invited to speak at the seminary and at pastors' conferences and things that, like, in theory, I'm not supposed to be able to do, but it's like I didn't show up uninvited. Yeah. They invited me, and we spoke, and we all learned, and we all grew, and people would take what I had taught and written about and really find it helpful in unpacking the gospel for modern ears that weren't raised with this language, with these images, and instead they actually were raised very much to not want to receive it. So that's the short version. And then in that process, if there's one through line, it's creativity, it's gathering of people, and it's listening for God's call. Like contemplative prayer is a big part of my life. I am actually a certified spiritual director now. I did a 2-year program in that. And that's all just listening for God's work in people's story. So 4 years ago, out of nowhere, not having any idea what my next phase was and where God was leading next, I start hearing songs. I had no music in me. I couldn't read music. I didn't play an instrument. I didn't sing. People would usually ask me not to sing. And I started hearing these songs, and being someone who was tuned into God's word, I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I supposed to do with these songs? And when they didn't stop coming, I thought, okay, he's calling me to do music. I don't know why. I was 58 at that time. I was like, I don't think I have a big pop career coming up, but So I just started learning and quickly started making music and just putting myself out there. I put out an album called Life in the Key of God, using all different friends, each one to do a different song for me, and then started doing individual songs. And that's when I met Kip Fox and came into the Songwriter Initiative. And so it's been almost 3 years, and we, Shane, Lauren, and I have been kind of OG members. We were there in the early Zoom sessions and Slacks and on retreats. We've been in retreats together. We've done work together, and we really feel like family. Like we've gotten to know each other super well. Right. And that's what led me to, well, I'm not going to say like, oh, and that's why I picked Shane. I did pick Shane, but God told me to pick Shane for this project. As I was struggling with this song, we keep talking about the project. The project is a song that is also a music video and a beautiful urban outreach story called Requiem in the City. And when I was trying to figure out how to bring it to life, I kept getting a little reminder. What about Shane? Why don't you look into Shane? See what Shane can do. It's hard to find any evidence of what Shane can do online because he doesn't promote himself. And so I had to dig in the weeds to find it's like, oh, yes, it's going to be Shane.
I do want to expand upon that more, but how would you describe, I guess it is a project, but now we're kind of like at the finish line, more or less. I mean, the working out the final details of this project, but soon it'll be an actual song that'll be released. But what is this song? I'm going to say this. I know what it's about, but for listeners, what is this song "Requiem in the City" about?
Well, it started from the observation. I was listening to a lot of choral music last summer, and I think I actually heard a specific Requiem, and I was just so haunted by the beauty of it. I was praying through that, and I started thinking about, no matter who you are or what you believe or don't believe, you could believe nothing, you could hate the church, but if you were in a big city and you pass a cathedral, you're going to go in. And as we've said that to people, almost everyone we've met has said, oh, yeah, that happened to me, la, 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 la. It's so true.
Everyone's got a story with that.
And you go in and you open that door and you are overcome with a sense of peace, with a sense of awe, with a sense that there's a larger story, an ancient story, something that's been going on before, because you can feel the cloud of witnesses in that space. It's held in that space. And you see the candles on the candle stand, and just mentally you go, oh, candles are cool. Oh, they're lighting a candle. Oh, I could light a candle. Well, who would I light a candle for? And you get the whole mental loop. We all do this exact same mental loop. And if you walk into a cathedral in a big city during the day, there's almost always something going on.
Yeah.
There's a mass, there's a choir rehearsal, there's a service. And in this case, we made it a memorial service. So there's a little funeral mass going on because we wanted to capture that paradiso. We wanted to capture that voice. And so I felt like I want to write a song that bottles that experience and then tells it not only in language and in the drama of the music, but then with a beautiful music video that really, we say music video and we're used to seeing performers doing the song, which is great. That's a performance video and it's really helpful and everyone loves to see the singers and that's cool.
Yeah.
But this is really more like a short film, It's very cinematic. It's got big scope to it.
Yeah.
You were really at that point an actor in this story, and as we enacted what you're hearing in the lyrics. So yes, on October 6th, I can't believe that's in 3 weeks from today.
My gosh.
That is soon.
The video will be out and the song will be streaming, and
Mark your calendars.
Yes.
Did that answer your question?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. And I think there's, I have a lot kind of I think questions and whatnot going on. Lauren,
Whatnot's my favorite thing that Shane says.
And
whatnot.
All the infinity of other thoughts. But Lauren, I know you had questions about kind of like
I definitely do. Yeah. So I loved hearing about how you were God kind of put it on your heart to invite Shane into this project and for him to be the guy to do this. And Shane, I'm just curious too, to hear from you. What was it about Requiem in the City when Heather presented it to you where you were like, wow, this is so special. I am so honored. Like, yes, let's do this.
Yes. So there's, I guess, a little bit of backstory exposition in regards to that. When we first had our first songwriter retreat at Concordia Irvine, that first gathering we had of songs and people and whatnot, the first song that you came up with in the sessions was the bar song. I can't remember.
Oh yeah.
It was this incredibly it wasn't a parody, but it was like a funny song that you could relate to, that could be played in a bar, that could also
what was the hook again? It was like J-Bomb.
Oh yeah, that's the very end. That's at the very end. You get to that third verse and we'll be dropping J-bombs like a pro. Anyhow, but it was about a songwriter, and all inside jokes are all about you get to play, and would they know what I'm writing about, and I guess they finally like me because now I'll even get paid, and you know what I mean, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. But then it's very devout in the chorus because it's all about it's Jesus, and everyone's immediately started singing that, and so maybe one day you'll do it in a pub set.
Maybe we will.
Yeah,
but it was a great song that was like that bridged the secular and this Christian world in a palatable way that people could hear. No offense, I can't remember the middle session one, but the last session one, your session was with this incredible guitar player, this incredible string player, and you, this lyricist, and you guys came together and just it was just this moment of awe. You guys played through this song, and it was just
Come to Bethany, right?
It was called Come to Bethany, which I was fortunate enough to do in worship a few weeks, maybe a month ago. I was an opening communion song, but this Come to Bethany song. It just there's so much to chew on in the song, and then on top of it, the performance of Hayden and Stefan was just incredible. Like there was so much to unpack with that. I was like, this song is incredible, and that was a moment too. I realized like this woman's writing, Heather, like there's something so special about the way you write that really just like makes me gravitate towards it and makes me really connect with it. And I was just so jealous from that point on. Like, I
remember like the moment we finished the retreat, Shane was like, I have to do a co-write with Heather. Like she's the dream person for me to do a co-write with. Oh my gosh, and you
never even told me. You could have just written me. I would have jumped on a Slack meeting with you in 2 seconds. You know me.
I absolutely could have, but I'm a savant at communication, so you know.
Yes, we have learned that in this process.
Yeah, so I'm a terrible communicator. So it finally took until like God intervening and connecting.
Okay, are you going to let me tell that story on you?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to back up. Because, it's never a perfect thing. I didn't immediately go, oh, it's Shane. There is a new worship leader at our church in Venice. Mm-hmm. He's got a great, folk singer voice and presentation. And he's got his master in film, and he works in film and stuff. And in my mind, it's like, oh, it's a no-brainer. He's going to do this song. He'll do the video. Great. Mm-hmm. Because I know so little about what people need to know to pull off what I was asking them to pull off. That's the thing. So he's like, oh yeah, I'm in. Well, I also didn't know at that time that his weakness is not wanting to say no to people and wanting to be helpful and overextending himself until and had no idea. And I'm like getting him in my house to do a run through on the piano. And I learned a couple of things very quickly. He doesn't read music. He's just one of those chord guys who can feel anything deeply and prayerfully and this and that. So he didn't matter what I did to compose. I was putting all this detail in the composition. Didn't make any difference. And once we got to the choral part, which you guys will hear and know about, and everyone in your church has been helping us with, he lost, but it had so I start talking to our choir director. I actually started 2 community choirs in LA, both with the same woman. Oh, wow. And of course I can't sing, so I go, well, I'm going to learn now. I'll have to come to choir since I started it to talk to people. Yeah. So I call her. I said, listen, can you help me with this part, or what do I need? And we're just talking it through. And by the end of the conversation, this is what happened. I said, so basically, I need someone who can sing like Bob Dylan, but is also classically trained in choral performance. So you're telling me that's what I need? She said, that's what you need. And that's when God said, what about Shane? What about Shane?
Oh my goodness.
Now, I didn't know anything about his background because, quite honestly, in the world, if you're looking at Shane, you're looking at Lauren, they're standing next to each other, who do we look at? We always look at Lauren.
Oh, of course.
So, no one's thinking about Shane. And then since he doesn't promote himself, there's nothing about Shane. So I did have to really dig around, and I found something on Lauren's Facebook page, like his graduation performance, and he's singing an aria. I'm like, oh my gosh. And I was like, it is Shane. And I did more. Talents. And then I did more and more and more. Okay, so I reach out. I said, Shane, I want to talk to you about this project. And we were all going to be in best practices together in Arizona in February. Mm-hmm. So we met up after Chase's session. We were all in that session together, and we met up, and I'm showing you the stuff, and you're looking, and the first thing you try and show off singing, and you start going, oh! I was like, what is that wiggly thing you're doing? Don't do that, Anyhow. and we started talking, and I could see you were concentrating, and I couldn't tell, I was like, does he hate it? Does he not get it? Does he have it? And but I didn't know you yet to know how seriously you were taking it and trying to embody it and figure out what does she want? How do I make this work? La 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 la. Yeah. And by the end of it, you're like, do you mind if I kind of interpret it in a new way? Maybe it's going to be in guitar. Maybe it's going to be. I was like, no, that's part of the process. I want you to be. We're now entering this creative process together, right? Mm-hmm. So he leaves saying, I'm going to do that. That'll be I'm going to play with guitar. And I'm like, I found it. He's going to do it. This is great. And in that time, that's what I asked you about, is guitar your strongest instrument? He goes, no, actually voice is my strongest instrument. I was like, oh, this is awesome. I'm so excited. Okay, so that was February. February turns to March. March turns to April. April turns to May. I have not heard a word from Shane. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I mean, he said he wasn't a good communicator, but come on. I'm like, what's going on? But now I'm feeling worried, like in a maternal way. I don't want him to feel guilty. I know sometimes people feel like, oh, I've let Heather down and I'm going to be embarrassed to see her. So I write Lauren, because there's no point in writing Shane because he doesn't respond. So I write Lauren in the Slack that we're all in our group. I said, tell Shane I love him. I'm so excited to see you guys. Don't feel guilty. It's okay. Maybe we'll get to it later. Maybe you just can't do it. I don't know. But either way, can't wait to see you guys. So we're all in the May retreat at Concordia. For whatever reason, we weren't in the same group, Shane, so
No,
we barely saw each other from a distance, and we had no co-writes, and so we almost had no interaction. It was like a quick hi at the beginning. But after the last night, the celebration night, where like 12 people had sung songs, and we're all like loud and rowdy and full of the spirit, and the room is just electric, and then now maybe there's some wine, and all of a sudden, Shane appears, like in my blind, like his face is right here. I know you can see. His face is like an inch from me. And he said, Heather, I told you I'm not good at communication, but I have been thinking and working on this song a lot. I've got it figured out. Let me sing it for you. And he starts singing, and I am looking like, this is why it's really important to understand that we all have totally different work styles.
Yeah.
And you may want and need someone's gifts, and that means you have to take this part too.
Yeah.
Right, which is like, not so good at the communication, which gets a little tricky when you're trying to move a project forward. Like, are we moving forward, or is he on vacation?
Miles and miles and miles apart.
Miles apart.
Yeah.
And months of planning. And I was like, Shane, I want to move this forward. He goes, I'm not good at, like, I need a deadline. I need help staying on task. I said, I gotcha. And so what we did, we made a pinky swear that night.
Yes.
And I said, if I send you once a week a specific deadline with a specific benchmark, can you honor it? And you said yes. Now, we didn't know yet if that was going to be true. We were going to find out.
We were.
So that next day, and I decided I'm just going to give him a bite at a time, because otherwise it's going to freak him out. So I would text him. I'd say, deadline number 1, I want a rough track with this tempo, with this figured out, and how you're going to enter in the thing. Send me that demo. And we'd already agreed about when your best work time is. I want it by 6 o'clock on Saturday night, this next week.
Yes.
Boom. And then I waited. I thought, maybe he'll do it, or maybe I won't hear until Christmas. I don't know. But I am telling you, like 4 o'clock Saturday, this thing drops in my thing. I'm like, okay, all right.
It's gonna work.
This is gonna work. And then I was like, I'm so proud of you, Shane. And here's deadline number 2. And we just did that for like 3 months. And finally he went on vacation, and we had to take a break from the deadlines and the moving it forward. He's like, could I have a couple weeks for vacation? I said, absolutely. And then what happened when you showed up, when you came back from vacation? What did you?
It was hilarious. I came back to a slew of messages, which was nothing new. I mean, like, you had so many ideas that you'd pour in. But in the mix of that, I was catching up. I'm like, oh, what's this document? And I open it up, and it's this, I'm coming to Seattle. We're recording. We're filming. Here's the dates. I'm like, oh, okay. Here we go. And so that was just like another like kick to me. I was like, all right, now I really got to shift gears here and just not like take it more seriously, because I already was like I had a passion and a vigor to this project, but it was just a different mindset of like, okay, now I got to start like getting people together, start thinking of spaces and times and putting this together mentally and like on the calendar. And so
And then you got very good at communication, because then you knew, and then suddenly it was like text being originated by Shane asking me things. I was like, oh, okay, he's in it now. I will tell you what this reminds me of. It's going to be just a tad salty, but it's not salty. We're going over to a little side thing.
Yeah.
When I was delivering our first child, my son Graham, my husband had been with me obviously through the whole process and la 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 la. But it's like, it wasn't until the head was crowning when he all of a sudden looks and is like, this is a really big deal. I think for guys, sometimes it's not real until it's real. It's crowning. And so, okay, I'm ready now. Whereas we're here, we're planning, we're gestating, we're nesting, we're moving along.
Not gonna lie, you like talking, like saying that is like, I can connect with that.
Can you connect with that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So speaking of this week, though, I do want to hear from you guys the whole process from Monday to today, what you guys have been doing and what that's all looked like, bringing this beautiful song together. Song and story. Yeah.
Yeah. Because
Monday we started with dinner in your favorite sports bar, not be your favorite local, which is called what?
Jerseys.
Shout out to Jerseys.
Yeah.
Near Fred Meyer. I always forgot the name of the streets, but
Me too.
Yeah. It's called Jerseys. Look it on Google. Hey, that's what I can say.
And I think that's when we established the tone that we're all super open about food and different things, and we would try out things, and so every meal was super fun.
That set the tone for the week.
So fun.
Okay, you can take Tuesday. Go.
Okay, so Tuesday comes around and it you put it on the calendar and scheduled it as the big recording day. We're gonna get every recording audio musically. So you found the studio at Pacific Studios in Tacoma, and part of this recording would be we're gonna record the audio, voice. We're gonna record guitar, and the biggest part of it is we're gonna record the choir part of it. But there's two parts to it that I definitely very much expanded upon.
Yes.
So my earliest musicality comes from choirs, and so I have a lot of experience with it, and so I'll take it more seriously in different ways. And so when we're putting the vision of the song in my brain, like this person walking into the this busker almost in this story, walking into a cathedral, and they'd hear the choir in it. I'm like, well, I want that. I need that choir to be good. I can't just have it be them, some side kind of thing. And originally, sorry, there's a lot of exposition to your answer
perfect.
for Tuesday.
We love it.
So when you originally came with the music to this song, Requiem in the City, the choir was very much mimicking the lead melody, and they were singing along with it. And I kind of took that and ran with it to like Norway. Like I just ran to the other side of the earth.
You ran to Rome, is what you.
I ran to the Vatican. So I took this choir part and I was like, well, when you walk into a cathedral, you're not going to hear them singing like some contemporary, like, whatever.
Gospel songs.
Yeah. Like you're going to hear them singing in Latin, and you're going to hear them singing, although you might not recognize it, like some kind of different language. And so I created this whole choir part to the song that was in Latin. And I kind of, with the help of Google Translate and some older, works from, I think it was Bach. I took the text from the chorus, and I kind of found Latin similarity words to it. So the words to the choir parts that they first sang, Vox Coli, which is voice of heaven.
I believe it's Vox Celli.
Vox
Your wife trained me in there.
Oops,
Vox
sorry.
Celli.
I sang it wrong for a while, so I'm still kind of,
I know.
Vox Celli, which is the voice of heaven, and then Angeli Coro, angelic chorus, Paradiso, paradise, and then near the end of it, I wanted to also have just some like root Latin, as I would call it, some Latin you would hear on any given Sunday, if you went to like a Catholic mass or like a very traditional Lutheran service, so Agnus Dei, the Lamb of God, and Dona nobis pacem, grant us thy peace. So I was like, okay, I want to put this in, and so I found creative ways to assemble like these choral parts together, and so I broke this choral recording in two parts. So one we talked about, we had to get voices in the studio to get like all the singers together to put together into the song. But I also wanted a separate recording to it that we did here at just St. Luke's, where we went into the balcony. I wanted to record the choral voices together in a church space.
To get that room ambiance.
To get that like choral sound. Like you can record voices together, but it's hard to recreate that choir space sound when a choir is singing in a room together. And so I was like, we need that kind of sound together, and at least like just have that somewhat like in the song, somewhere in the meat and bones of it. Yeah. And so in the background, while we're all doing different things, I'm assembling choral singers from our choir together to sing here at St. Luke's, but it was a kind of a two-parter. We recorded one session of recording here in the balcony where we recorded this song together, and then the other session where it was in the studio where it was more like intimate vocals.
And they're all in there, right? I mean, there's the bed from here.
Yeah.
And then all of that. Yeah, it's so full.
And it's
it
crazy
really is.
too how different the recordings were, because it was in the balcony in the church. We had to sing it a cappella. We had like no click that you hear in the studio. We had no starting, like any kind of music to go off of. It was just Shane's conducting a starting note before we recorded and go.
A cappella.
So, which was really crazy too, that you were able to make that line up so well.
Which was it was a beast unto itself.
Well, yeah, I didn't really have full appreciation for everything you had done in that. I mean, first when you said the Latin thing to me, and here's my problem, I over-communicate. And I always feel like an artist is going to want to hear back right away because they're sensitive. And my first thought is like, oh my gosh, no. And then it took me by the next day, I was like, oh, no, take that back. I didn't know how to use delete text yet. I don't know if you read my text, but no, I've decided you're right. But
it's okay. By like 3 months later, I was catching up on those texts. I was like, okay, all right, you came to it.
But it was so good. But see, I didn't realize. So this is just like a little music thing. And again, I'm just a babe in the woods about music. I have vision. I have some skills. I can write some good songs. But I don't have that training that you have. So I had written the song originally in 4/4. He switched it to 6/8, so it went better with the busking thing. I didn't realize that you had to redo all the choruses, not only so that you have these Latin accents with the busker's line, with the singer's line, but you had to renotate that section in 9/8. I'm looking at what you did with the 4 parts, because you're trying to integrate 2 timings that don't go together, because a choral timing is different than this, singer-songwriter timing.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my gosh, he's been working on this so hard.
Throwing in the duples and
Yeah, it is. So I'm a sucker for like deep music. So like the musical Hamilton, like is one of those musicals you can listen to like 1,000 times and pick up something new each time you listen to it. And so with this song, I wanted to have kind of some of those elements in it, with like having Latin in the background, but having the choir sing in this duple time to show like it's a different space and a different setting than what the singer's singing. So
rich.
I take it and run with it. And I probably do too much with it, but I love it.
You do not do too much. You do the amount required. And, like I put that kind of thoughtfulness into, like, when I'm going to give a talk, I just sweat every detail. And then, everyone will appreciate it, but not really. There might be one person that really recognizes what went in to be able to capture that detail. What did you have to know to be able to capture that one detail? And most people just aren't paying that much attention.
Yeah.
I didn't fully appreciate it till we were in the room and I saw this sheet music. I was like, oh my gosh, God, thank you. Thank you for saying Shane. Thank you for saying Shane. Thank you for telling me, because if I was in here with this studio, this would just be a mess.
I loved it, but I loved like I like looking at it. Like it's just it was a true like group effort from you and me. Like we've in the weirdest ways have complimented each other to like create the song, and it
totally.
And so
yeah. And I said that I said from the second I asked you, I said, this is going to be a co-write. I realize I've already written all the lyrics and all the music, but what you're going to do to rewrite the music and to compose it and arrange it, this is a total 50-50 co-write. Like, are you in?
Yeah.
And then, I'm going to add on to Tuesday this piece.
Yeah. Still
so
Tuesday.
I get a little text Tuesday morning as we're all heading to the studio, and it's from Lauren, like, I hope you don't mind if I tag along. And I'm like, what? Of course not. I want everyone to come in and sit and be there and learn. And so she was there the whole morning with us. And then the choir part, of course, she's like a gorgeous choral singer, and she was one of the vocalists, right? So we already knew that. Mm-hmm. So here's how the day ended Tuesday, because this is really important.
Yeah.
We had created this interlude because we wanted just a little break right before we go into the closing moment, a little moment to take in this richness of this story, right? And so Shane had just done a very nice, simple acoustic guitar thing. And then we'd added in one more layer, drums, which was just such a big thing for me to allow drums in this piece. And I brought in a drummer. He's the one who recommended to you. That's a whole other story. But so we had these two instruments, and we kept saying, we're going to want one more instrument. And we've been talking for about a week or so, like, would we try a harmonica? Like, that's a busking thing. Would that be cool, or would that be weird? Would it be an organ? Everyone does violin. Would it be violin? La, 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 la. So it was this ongoing back and forth, and we were going to do it. And literally, as the choir is singing, and now we were about half hour from the day being over, 15 minutes from the day being over.
It was near the end.
It was done. And they come out, and I said, I think I know what we need to do. I want Lauren to go in there, and she is going to be the third element in the interlude, and she's just going to be going, oh, and you looked at me and you said, okay, but I couldn't tell that she was terrified and had no idea what she was doing. I thought she was totally confident.
It was Lauren, you're going to go in and sing something. We have no idea what you're going to sing. And I had never heard this interlude before this moment. And I didn't know where the chords were going. I haven't dwelled in this song for months on end like you guys. You were like, go in there, quick, headphones, go sing something. And I'm like,
And the engineer's like, I got to go and walk my dog. I was like, okay, we have 5 minutes, Lauren. And so Shane's sitting next door.
Make this interlude.
Yeah. And of course, it's now like my favorite part of the whole song. Shane and I decided it's our favorite part because it's the only part that's new, because we've been listening to this song for a year. But it's magnificent, and it's a combination of the feeling you get from Ave Maria and The Little Mermaid mixed together. She's just it's just her over. But that's how I think we see how the Spirit is alive in the project, bringing you just the detail you need and the person you need and the moment you need. Yeah, we could have put some strings in virtually and all that kind of stuff, and that I'm sure it would have been lovely.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't have been this, which now to me lines up to the heart of the story, which is you are a young man who comes in because you're weary, you have no idea why you're there. You're confused. Do I even belong here? What is this all about? And by the end, you fall to your knees, overcome by the beauty and power and grace of the living God. So to hear that, you do it, because I'm not going to do it well. You do it.
I don't even remember.
And you hear that with the instruments, and it's almost like the voice of the Spirit.
Yeah.
Finishing the work. You know what I mean? And it's just so perfect for the story.
It really, like, there's, I feel like, there could make so many like symbolisms for that part. Like it was so right at the moment, and it just came out of nowhere too.
You're totally right. That really was like the whole project from start to finish really does feel like God's hand was in every element, guiding from the very first lyric you wrote to wrapping up the shoot yesterday, and then I'm sure the same thing's going to happen with mixing too. Like things are just going to be clicking, and oh my goodness, it's been
And where did the Spirit lead us for dinner on Tuesday night?
Tuesday night. Oh my goodness. Where did we go?
That was Akasaka.
Oh yes.
Wasn't that so good?
Every evening has its own like iconic dinner to it, honestly.
Yeah.
So we went to Akasaka just off Pack Highway here in Federal Way. Lauren and I went there one evening a month or two ago. We met the owner and his wife, and we loved the location. It's just a great local place, like to experience like authentic.
It's been around for like 38 years or something, and
it's just and it really is just I don't know. We love the place. So we decided, we'll take Heather there. And
it was so fun. And, for the first half of the week, I kept saying, if you guys need your private time and have a little alone time, I'm fine to be on my own. I can pick up something, go back to my Airbnb.
You were like, absolutely not.
And then I just stopped asking because I knew we were all having so much fun together that, we just kept hanging around as long as we could, right? It was good.
Yeah. It was amazing. So, Tuesday, all recording focused. We got everything recorded in, and then we went to Akasaka later that evening.
And then Wednesday we did some mixing in the morning, and then Shane was assigned to have some downtime, but he didn't take it. He came to church and worked all afternoon. He was supposed to go home. I said, Shane, you look tired. You need a rest, and you should go home. And what was our acronym all week? COD. We learned in the beginning of the week the COD in acting circles means cry on demand. But he told me, he said,
I was like, that's also an acronym for a video game called Call of Duty.
And then the producer was saying it also means something else for like the phone.
COD is cash on delivery. Back in the old days, you would give cash on delivery.
So we had all these acronyms for COD, and it was kind of just a running joke throughout the whole week.
I said, Shane, you were assigned to go home and play COD for 2 hours and do things that 26-year-old boys do to relax. You need some rest. But he didn't. I don't know.
Oh no. You
got a little in
case like for dinner on Wednesday, because we had it at our place.
They hosted me. It was so lovely.
Yeah, when we had dinner at our place, like you said, I need you to at least get 2 hours into video games, and I told you like, show up at 7:15. It's because I started playing video games at 5:15. I was like, I need you to show up at 7:15 to get my 2 hours.
Oh, so you met the assignment.
I met that quota.
There you go. Perfect. And he was very relaxed. And while they did that and had the afternoon off, I went up to Seattle to St. James Cathedral to meet with the management there, because this is where we were shooting. So that's that's a kind of an important backstory to this too.
Yeah.
Because I haven't been to Seattle since I was a little girl, but as we knew we were going to do this story together, I knew, we have to go. I have to go to them. They can't come to me, and we'll have better luck doing it up there. And so I knew we were going to come to this area. So I started thinking, Seattle's a bigger city. They're going to have cathedrals. Tacoma's not going to have a cathedral. And I found this gorgeous cathedral, oldest one there, over 100 years old, on the top of the hill, with just the most magnificent art, everything, the best, but kind of also a little bit intimate. It's a square shape with the altar on the round, and the lighting is great. Every detail is perfect. And I'm looking at it online going, it has to be this, it has to be this. In my mind, I'm picturing everything there. And then I thought, but I haven't actually asked them yet. What happens if they say no? I was so nervous. I was like praying. I was almost afraid. First, I was like afraid to write an email. I was like, okay, Jesus, just help me write this email. Just help me write this email. And I'm just, and so
just trying to word things the best
and it's
possible.
like, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what I say. If they have a policy against it, we're in big trouble. And so I sent them all that. This was the best thing in the world. I got a response in 8 hours from them saying our entire management team has already, or leadership team, or whoever it was, the main priest and the different people, have already discussed it, and we love this project. We love this song. This is the mission of our church, and we are happy to have you. When would you like to come? We will accommodate you. And I was like on the floor weeping. So I was just so excited. Anyhow, so I had to go up and meet with them and talk about the do's and don'ts, and where would things be, and should we keep stuff, and la la la. And then it was so fun. It was so fun just to be in the space and imagine. And And it's hard, I think about the Ephesians, is in Ephesians 10, works that have been prepared in advance that you may walk in them,
Yeah.
And it was so clearly that this was like a work of a lifetime for me to be able to tell this glorious, because I've also done a lot of things with art, and I'm always trying to show people the beauty of God through the artwork, because it kind of jumps over all the noise and the culture war stuff, just go right to the heart of it. That's really central to a lot of things that I've done. And so for me, just being in there, I'm thinking, but when you're in it, I don't know, you can't take all that in. You're just like, well, here I am, and this is great. This is how it goes. And I was so happy, and I'm taking little pictures, and and then I'm like, where are we going for dinner? And I came to your house. So then, and Lauren made me the best Italian pasta and homemade sauce it was great. And we had a good time. And then Shane played me another song he's working on. We started talking about lyrics and some of that. And then you can talk about Thursday, because Thursday is in my diary. I'm calling Thursday A Star Is Born Day.
Love that.
So early on, when you were depicting this story, you were describing this protagonist who has this like coming to life moment through this cathedral, the sanctuary. But we're kind of like trying to provide like backstory and like, who is this guy? It's like, well, like, you showed me a picture of this guy sitting on the street, like, oh, he's a busker, and he understands music, and he comes into this place, and it's just this life-changing experience. And so you were talking about like, well, who can we have to play this character, to busk? And I was like, well, I used to busk at Newport Beach in California. Like, Lauren and I would just play on the pier on the dock, and we've played in, like, street moments. So like, I very much like understand that part of it. And I don't know if I told you or you figured out like, oh, I've acted in musicals and
no, I don't think I knew that, but you're the one who helped me get clear. I thought it's someone coming off the street weary, but you're like, he's a busker, Heather. That's why you redid the note. So I always knew you were going to do it. Now, I didn't know you were as good as you were, and I didn't know you had any acting experience. If I had thought to think about that, I should have been worried, because the odds are there are very few people who could have done this. But anyhow, go on.
Well, and so, yeah, I think you were telling me like I don't know, I can't remember exactly how it happened, but like, you're gonna be the guy, the actor in this, and I was like, cool, yeah, let's do it. And I don't know if like I've just been very like nonchalant about it, because like I was telling Laura, like, when it comes to like performing, being like the person up front, like I love it. Like I love to like perform and just to act, to sing, to use my God-given gifts to tell the story, or like to tell the story, to said what needs to be said through the arts. And so, yeah, when you're saying that, I was like, yeah, I love to do that.
I said, Shane, are you ready? And what did you say? I was born ready.
I did. Because I really feel like, yeah, like I love this so much. And so for me, first we take like 12 days to find parking in Seattle outside this cathedral.
Download the app and pay for it, and we're all annoyed.
And 2-hour limit parking kind of stuff.
Okay, skip over that. We don't want to talk about it anymore.
Yeah, that's great stuff. So, but we show up to St. James, and we meet the filmers, the producer,
the director, Daniel Warren
from
Grand Rise
Productions, which you finding them, they're just incredible people, and they're doing incredible things, and he has such an eye for art and telling a story. And so he comes in with his assistant Herman, and they have all this gear, all their camera equipment, and I'm honestly just getting excited seeing all this, because they're like legit. They are
pros.
They are real. Like, they know what they're doing, and so they're filming some B-roll stuff, and we're just kind of like, I think Lauren and I are just kind of like this is our first time in that St. James Cathedral, so we're just looking at everything in awe of the beauty of this space, and so we film. I guess we filmed that the candle scene first. So there's this room of candles. And so we started filming that, and it was just so fun because Daniel is behind the camera and he's just giving me notes like, yes, feel this emotion, feel that, like, yes, now like look over here and just kind of like a coming to moment, like this is where everything changed, like, and he's giving me direction in the middle of filming, and I'm like, oh, this is incredible. I want to work with this guy forever. Like, he is so good, and he can bring out like the best in you, and just from there, like, that the story was just coming more and more too, like in those moments, and like it just was feeling more and more complete. And so so Wednesday we're filming everything. We're getting shots of me.
Was it Samir? Is that his name? Who had the drone too?
Oh yeah, and then we had the drone up. Now it's so funny because I've been asked in advance to run the idea of the drone by the management of the cathedral, and I said, everything in my heart tells me this is going to be one of those better to ask for forgiveness than permission things, because if they say no, we're in trouble, because we want those drone shots. And boy, did we use that drone inside. But he was a professional licensed one. He's not like some kid who learned during COVID how to operate. I mean, he was he's like a serious pilot, pro guy, and he just did amazing shots, and especially for some of that art that's very high up and you want to see it and stuff. So that was really amazing. And once again, we had Lauren with us all day, and I don't even think we needed to ask, do I want her there? I was like, oh, not only do I want you there, I'm putting you to work. Yeah, I want you capturing the side shots. And then within 5 minutes, I was like, oh, I want to capture the shot for the album cover. Help me with this. And Shane and I talked about an idea, trying to recreate that busking shot, and we put him on the ground. I was like, come on, Lauren. And then I just left her there and walked away. I was like, here, you're doing the album cover. Can I get this shot? And she's like, okay. And I could see her, and she's getting into it, and she's the filters. And it was just, I love that. I love to help people bring out those gifts. Because if she wasn't into it or didn't like her, she would have said, oh, I don't think I can. I'd be like, okay, well, then I'll do it. You know what I mean? But she was like into it. And it was really fun. On the floor to get
the angled shot facing up. Every person's hand in this just like has played such a big part. I think the funny thing while we were filming these all these shots in the cathedral, obviously, like Daniel and Herman, they have a lot of equipment. They were moving around for this, and they have this big like camera rig that he had to use, and in the middle of this, there were, the occasional people literally walking from the street into the cathedral, and just like a piece of me just felt so bad because like we don't have time to explain what's happening in there, but I can feel from these people that they were like, what are you doing in this sacred place? You are filming, like how dare you? And like there were some like I think staff people who came in like, do you have official business here? Like, yes, yep, like we okayed it. We're like with everyone. They're like, okay, like they knew it was all right.
Well. And you know who one of those staff people was? It was the priest. It was the senior priest, and he had forgotten that he'd okayed it 3 months before.
That was the
and yes, and I looked at him. I was like, oh yeah, that's not just any staff person. I went over and I explained. He goes, tell me about this. And, I was talking 5 minutes before. I said, oh, yes, this does sound familiar. Anyhow, I just, went on, and you could see his whole face soften and just fill with delight and gratitude. And then, he was just so on board. And it's like, do you want to hear the song? He goes, I'd love to. I took him over to the corner and I played. It was not the final mix, but it doesn't matter. Yeah. I played it for him, and he listened. You could just hear he was processing every word of the lyric and following the story. And that was great for me because it's like, okay, people who still know how to listen, which a lot of times you don't anymore because everything's so muddied up with too much production, you can't even hear lyrics. But if people know how to listen, and he is tracking that story, and he's just stopping, and after the choir part, he's like, God, that's just beautiful. He was so moved, and he felt so excited, and he just totally blessed the project. And so that made all the difference,
Yeah. In fact, he was a senior priest. I had no idea. That's hilarious. But then, the other people coming in, you could see that they were just like scoffing, like, what is this? Like, you got to trust us on this.
Well, because I think that it would be right to assume that we're like people taking advantage of the church to try and add some cool, spiritual vibe to some, rock video or whatever. You know, they wouldn't understand that. No, we're trying to help God's story go wider, and it's going to be a gift to the church, to all churches, to the universal church. It's not a Lutheran thing or a Catholic thing or anything. And to anyone who wants to know what it feels like to receive that invitation from Christ, you're going to see it and hear it in this, in Requiem in the City.
Oh, I'm so excited for the release. It's going to be so, so good.
Yeah, and
we might have to have a lunch during the day, like a live lunch online. We'll meet and we'll toast and we'll talk about it.
Toast on the release day of this.
You guys think of the restaurant.
We'll go to that restaurant and set up a like those TVs.
Yeah,
it's like you're actually here kind of thing.
Yeah.
Oh, so October 6th is our release date.
3 weeks from today. And so I will release it under my YouTube page, which is Heather Choate Davis. I will obviously send you the links first thing that morning as soon as it goes live. You can add it to your St. Luke site. You guys can all share it. Make sure all the choir people have it and help it go out. It'll probably go live at midnight on Spotify and all the streaming sites. I am going to anticipate, and I'm ready to be proven wrong, I am anticipating that we will get a lot more activity on YouTube early on than we will on the streaming, because if you can see it, why wouldn't you see it? And I've found that with other videos. If you do a really beautiful story, people want to see the beautiful story more than hear it, But then you can also put it on so then after you've seen it on YouTube, then you can put it on your playlist and listen in the car, and you can relive it in your mind,
Yes. And we want you to see the video like that. I think it really helps capture the story of this.
Yeah.
It really is surreal. Like, this is just coming together, and this is just that it even happened. Like, looking back, like how full these past 3 days have been is surreal. It's just, wow. Like, we did all of that.
It's nice to be on the other side of it, because at any moment it could all kind of go south. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely.
At any moment, anything could have happened in the recordings. Could have gone maybe not the way we wanted. Or
I could have been a terrible actor, and
what did we keep telling you? And Daniel and I were both telling you this. The camera doesn't lie. And if you didn't have it in you to communicate with your face and all of that, you can't fake that. And you see a lot of times, performers will be trying to look cool in their video or whatever, and it's nothing against them. It's just they're not actors, and so they don't have anywhere to go with it, nothing to come out of them, And I think the thing that made me realize that you really did is when I watched that Lizzo video you did, and I was showing it to my son, who happens to be a creative director, and he's a young guy. He's older than you. He's 33, and he looked at it and he said, "Oh boy, he has got a lot of life in that face, a lot of facial movement." And those are the things that people who do this work look for.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Do you have places to go?
Do you are able to express it?
Express it. You know what I mean? You can't. I can't do that well. I can. I don't cry on demand, but I cry when I pray, don't I? And so I have a very expressive face. But I don't have the gift you have. And I don't know that. Do you have it? Do you have this gift? Does she have it?
Lauren has it.
Does she have it too?
Yes.
I like to.
Well, we'll have to work on your project next year. We'll get your project. And so now today is our last thing. We're going to go. We're going to work on the final mix, and then we're going to master it. And then I'm going to submit it to the distributors this weekend. So it'll be ready. We have to get that final album cover picture decided on.
Yep.
And then I get on a plane late this afternoon, and my sweet husband is going to pick me up at LAX at 6:50 tonight, which is normally not a good time to go, but I'll tell you, it'll not be nearly as bad as trying to get out of Seattle.
It will not. Because
downtown rush hour. Never seen anything like it, and I've lived in a big city with a lot of traffic my whole life.
I was telling Lauren, it means a lot to me that you were saying that, like, this is just as bad as LA traffic. I was like, that really warms my heart, because I tell people sometimes, like, like, man, like drivers
some
and
wild
traffic.
drivers.
Yeah. Traffic and drivers are just as bad, if not worse than California, LA. And people are like, oh no, California is much worse. And so you saying that is like so affirming to me. I'm like, yeah, no, it is bad. Like we can acknowledge that.
It's really bad, and it's very compacted there. And you basically have 10,000 people trying to get on the same on-ramp going from 4 different streets are going in, and no one wanting to let anyone in, and no one being, just everyone honking. What do you want us to do?
What is happening?
Well, I would say some of my takeaways from today, as we're like kind of wrapping up, because I know you guys have to get to the studio pretty soon here.
Yes.
I would say some of my takeaways is just having the confidence and faith in God's calling, and that belief, that vision that he's giving you is meant to be shared. It's not meant to keep to yourself and wonder about forever. It is, okay, now how do I make this happen? It's gathering people, inviting people to come be part of it, to help fill in those spots that you can't do yourself. And it's just been such a beautiful, beautiful process to hear about from you, and to listen to the story of how your story came to what is going to be shared and released on October 6th.
Well, I hope it inspires you guys as you do stuff in the future to really be clear about who you are as individuals, as artists, and you particularly as a woman of faith in the church, and like, who are you supposed to be? Who are you guys supposed to be as a couple? Who are you supposed to be as a leadership? All of these things. Know who you are, and then just be fearless about it, And part of being fearless is, I think, being free to do stuff even if it doesn't work. We got to get out there and okay, next. Like, how many things did we all learn this week through the process?
I can't even count them on my 10 fingers.
And you're always going to learn something. So just keep moving on. I think a lot of times, particularly young people and artists, they're so afraid that if they, what if this isn't great, or what if this isn't right? If I just keep adding more tracks, that'll really put me on the. It's like, no, just put it out, and then put out something else and get better. Just keep working at it. You know what I mean? And just keep going out. Yeah,
just keep doing it. So, Heather, thank you so much for just being here to record this podcast last minute. Thank you just for all your time and effort that you've put to make getting this possible.
My pleasure. This is like our audio diary of the week. We'll now have this to remember.
This will be this, and this is on Spotify and all podcast platforms. So, and we'll be able to look back, and this will be our director's notes. Director's notes.
Maybe I can link it to my Sophia Streams page, so if people want to follow, I can probably put that. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah, we can figure that out later. Okay. But October 6th, Requiem in the City. It's grand debut. You can find that there. You can also find Heather Davis's works.
Heather Choate Davis.com, and then you can see all my books and all the things I've done, and you're like, who is she? I don't understand that. And
do
that's
you
what
mind
everyone
spelling
says.
That just so?
Okay, HeaTher, and then my maiden name Choate, and then Davis, my married name, Davis.com. I just celebrated my 38th wedding anniversary.
Woo! And so HeatherChoateDavis.com, you can find all your works, your books. You've written a few books.
Talks. I have a whole section called Faith in Art, which is different mural installations and art projects I've been starting with an original arts-based liturgy I created 2 years after coming to faith called the Renaissance Service. Wow. We'll talk about that another time, but that was 4 years of creating a Compline service in the dark with images on a screen and Taizé chants and the Marty Haugen Vespers. Oh. My prayers rise up like incense before. Anyhow, that was beautiful. We'll talk about that later. Yeah. Thank you so much for giving me a chance to go relive this week with you guys.
Absolutely. Thank you for being a part of it. Thank you, listeners, for being a part of this. Feel free to share this, like this, follow, give it 5 stars, whatever, how it works. Comment below. Thank you guys. Thank you all, Lauren, Heather, for being here. We'll catch you guys later, October 6th.
Whoop, whoop.
See you there.
Bye.
That's the end of the episode, but we want to continue the conversation. Continue the conversation by sharing this episode, subscribing, or leaving a review. Connect with us on Instagram at 2414 Podcast. Connect with us through email at 2414@stlukes-church.com. Or best of all, keep the conversation going by inviting someone to process with you so that you can each walk away with more understanding that leads to more conversation as the journey continues. If you happen to be in the Seattle-Tacoma area of Washington, stop by on a Sunday morning and say hi. 2414 is a podcast produced by St. Luke's Lutheran Church in Federal Way, Washington. To find more content, discover upcoming opportunities to connect in person, or to support the show, head on over to stlukes-church.com. Thanks for walking with us.